The one thing that I believe would work everywhere is fighting. Because it doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. We're all human beings, and fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it.
I'm Michael Morgan, and welcome to this week's episode of the WHOACAST. Joining me, as usual, my co-defendant, G from WHOA TV.
Hey, Mike, what's good?
I'm telling you, my belly is full from this weekend's plethora, the smorgasbord, the almost like relentless pace of mixed martial arts. Not only were we treated to 2 Bellator cards, but we also had UFC as well. Now, one of the things which actually happened last week, which we'll be covering on the show this week, was the announcement that come November, Bellator will be touching down in London again. And, a couple of additions on that card, even though the card is still being finalised, a couple of additions on that card. Fabian Edwards and Mike Shipman will be joining us later on in the show. But let's have a quick canter through basically what was a favourable weekend of mixed martial arts. I mean, what actually floated your boat in terms of the things? Let's just start with Bellator, what occurred at Bellator Dublin.
Well, first and foremost, the MVP flying knockout caught my attention right away. I was anticipating this fight with Richard Kiley. Let me get his name right. Yes, that was, what'd you think? Did you see that flying knee and all the shenanigans that came with it?
Yeah, but to be fair, you know something? We all knew where that was going. We all knew that was a foregone conclusion before MVP even stepped in the cage, what was going to occur. That's why I was with a very, very confident abandon. Quite happy last week to actually trade with Cal Eleanor and basically put myself on the line for 50 press-ups. I knew that, there was no way I was actually doing those press-ups. But, speaking of which, I don't know about you, G, but I still haven't seen those 25 press-ups from Cal Eleanor.
Oh, I know. And he tweeted, I'm going to get those right to you. And he ghosted us. So, I'm going to...
That was 48 hours ago. I'm still waiting.
Oh, don't worry. I'll add him as soon as we're done recording here, and I'll give him a little nudge. We're going to get those push-ups, Mike. Don't worry about it.
There you go. You go. Never a borrower or lender be. But going back to that flying knee knockout, to be honest with you, like I say, it was a foregone conclusion. But you know what wasn't a foregone conclusion? Dan cock-blocking Murgigliotta.
Well, wait a minute.
I have to say that.
Wait a minute. Nope. That is a perfect segue. You know me and my questions. We've got some MMA Twitter questions about what you're about to talk about, which was the foul with Dan Murgigliotta and then the unprofessional back and forth spat. Yeah. How about I ask you a question and then you tell me how you feel?
Jump in with the listener questions.
All right, listen. We're going to combine 3 of them because this was a hot topic. Aaron Eastwood, Tricky Duncan, and Joe Bloggs basically have the same question. So they said, with Big Dan taking a point off of MVP for acting a fool at Bellator Dublin, what do you think it's time for extreme showboating like that of MVP to be penalized or to be stopped in MMA? That's one question. And then
I take issue with the usage of the word acting a fool, but sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to segue into another question.
No. I'm glad you interrupted me. Finish up with that one.
Okay. I personally see Michael Venom Page's outlook, the way in which he performs, because that is what he's doing. He's performing.
Right.
And as well as that, it's entertaining. That should not be curtailed. We don't want clones. We don't want people who are doing exactly the same as each other. We want standout performers like MVP. Love him or hate him, you're either tuning in to see him get his ass knocked out because of his showboating, because of his reckless abandon, but because of the way in which he presents himself in such a hands-down open manner, or you actually want to see him actually lay fools to waste. Now, not calling Kiley or Richard Kiley a fool, but at the end of the day, I personally feel that Dan Mergliotta overstepped his boundaries. It's not for him to actually be directing, as it were. This isn't a film. This isn't a movie. His job is to protect the fighter, to ensure that foul play isn't actually being extended here. But more importantly, he's to ensure that the fight is fair. Now, I personally feel as though, especially when you do factor in what he said, this is, allegedly, this is what came from MVP. He called him a piece of shit at the end of the match. So there's obviously some personal beef going down there.
And MVP told him to fuck off too, which was interesting.
Well, and rightly so.
Yeah.
I've got to say, whilst that may be a little bit, first of all, out of character for MVP, I've never heard him swear in the cage or without good reason. What I would say is this. I personally felt that Dan Mergliotta was way out of order. I've been watching this now for close to, 19 years, the sport of mixed martial arts. I have to say, this is the first time that I have been angered to a point where, I had to exclaim out loud, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Why would you do that? Why would, first of all, you deduct a point? Why would you stop him mid-point or midway through his entertaining or his entertainment? But the key thing for me was, did Mergliotta feel as though he was there for some other reason? Because it strikes me that he was stepping way outside his usual boundary.
Oh, I'm going to agree with you on this, and a couple of highlights I'm going to throw in. What exactly is unsportsmanlike behavior, and enough so for Dan to take a point? Like, that needs to be discussed. Like, is this even a rule? I've never even heard or seen anything like that. It's not like when Paul Daly punched Josh Koscheck in the face, or when Conor McGregor slapped like a referee or a commissioner in the ring. To me, that's very unsportsmanlike, and possibly you should be fined or whatnot. But showboating while you're ground and pounding during a fight, is that, I think, was uncalled for. And then I think too, if he can take a point for that, then we need to discuss what that is. And I just thought it was strange that he could even do that. Secondly, why did he stand them up? Continue in the same position. I didn't understand why he stood them up after a showboating foul. It wasn't like, it wasn't a reason to stand them up either. The fight needed to be continued. You want to stop the fight and let the scorekeepers know that you're taking off a point, and then you put them back down in the same position that they were in because you don't want to interrupt the fight. You want him to stop showboating, correct? Why'd you stand him up for?
Absolutely, 100%. That's what I'm saying. He far exceeded his mandate. He wasn't there. It wasn't a movie he was directing. He was directing fighting. He was refereeing, fighting. So that really, I have to say, I've been watching, as I say, this sport a long while, and that was the first time I felt angered by a referee. And, he effectively disrupted the flow of movement, and that fight for me would have been over a lot quicker.
Yeah, and it was bizarre. It was uncalled for. And you know what I'm going to call it? I think Dan was just simply in his feelings. I think he was emotionally unstable at that point. He does not like MVP. And unfortunately, he abused his power. Not to say in some vindictive or horrible way, but he was basically caught up in his feelings and his disdain for MVP. That's all that was. And I think that's why he apologized later. And he also said that he will never ref his fights again, which is the right thing to do, to take account. Because you're taking accountability for not holding yourself to a higher standard, which is what the referee should be doing. So I do like the fact that he was like, you know what? I messed up. I don't want to ref this guy anymore. And, I came out my mouth. So I like that. One more question about MVP. I thought this was a good one. Tricky Duncan wants to know, Mike and Gina, how do you think MVP would fare in the UFC? Personally, I don't think he gets into the top 10 of the UFC. What are your thoughts? Because a lot of people complain about him fighting cans. So I want to know what you think about that.
But you see, this is the thing about MVP. Let's look at his recent track record. We forget that this is the man that KO'd Cyborg. We forget that whilst it was an ugly fight, this was the guy who beat Paul Semtex Daly. And as much as I love Paul, that I'm quite pally with Paul. We're quite close with Paul.
I'm a huge fan as well.
Truth be known.
Yep.
The fact is, he reduced Paul to a wrestler. Paul, left hook striker, daily. Paul, KO specialist, daily. You know, you got to give MVP his props. You can't forever keep trotting out this whole can persona, this whole can label, because for me, MVP versus Paul Daly, that wasn't MVP versus a can. For me, MVP versus Cyborg, that wasn't MVP versus a can. So, you know, let's just calm, cool, retract the whole can calling, because you can't after basically, you know, him taking on and reducing Paul Daly to being a wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like with your answer, and here's why. I don't think anyone is a can when you're a professional fighter. Although I do use that word because I want people to understand the level of fighter that I'm talking about. But for the record, there are no cans in professional fighting. Who was a can? Me. You put me in the cage with somebody, and I'm gonna get beat up because I'm a can. I don't train in martial arts. That's number one.
And me too.
Right.
And me
you know,
too.
like,
Yeah.
let's just put that out there. There are no cans. We're just talking about skill level when we use the slang word can. MVP, yes, I think he is really good. But I'm going to answer this question with Tricky, and I don't think he can hang with Tyrone Woodley, Jorge Masvidal, RDA. I think UFC caliber fighters can beat him. And I think the people in the top 10 can handle him candidly. And I think they'll do what Douglas Lima did to him. That's just me. But do I think he's fighting cans? No, because you're right. Look what he did to Paul Daly. He had Paul Daly almost like an out-of-body experience. He turned into a wrestler. And why? Because MVP striking is phenomenal. And it's unpredictable, and it's flashy, and it's all over the place. But it works really well. So it reduced Paul to somebody that had to resort to wrestling. But I don't know. I think Leon smokes him. I think quite a few people in the UFC can beat him.
But that's just it. That's just it. Just to follow on, I feel as though he'd fare well in the UFC because, I mean, let's not forget, that's why I'm glad I used Paul Daly as the example here. Paul Daly is a UFC vet. Remember, he got slung out of the UFC.
Yeah.
He actually reached, you know, to some people, the epitome of the sport by being in the UFC. But that kind of brings me on to my final point. A lot of people like to draw this comparison and look at the UFC as the epitome and almost call Bellator the B League.
Which is wrong, yeah.
Look at the caliber of people in the UFC and look at the caliber of people in Bellator. You could quite easily cross between the two in terms of matchmaking very, very easily.
Yeah, I do agree with. Even though, like, MVP, I think he struggles with some UFC folks. I don't think Bellator is the B leagues. I mean, this weekend alone with some of the stuff, the highlights that I saw proves to me that this is not the B leagues. It's just a different organization. You know what I mean? Like, no. And UFC has the name behind it, the hype and all the history. So it comes with a whole different, you know, nostalgia and all different types of things come with it. So I think people are biased when it comes to the UFC. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm skeptical of MVP, but I do think he's great. And I was not surprised at all when Lima kind of knocked him out. I was not shocked. But do I think he's talented? Very much so. I mean, I'm kind of conscious
of the time. Which like running away with us. We're getting very close to the time when we are going to be speaking to Mike Shipman and Fabian Edwards. But let's just quickly canter on to UFC Copenhagen. Were there any standouts for you on that card?
Let me see. Definitely the main event right away. I'm going to zero in on that. And I also enjoyed Gunnar Nelson and Gilbert Burns. I think Gilbert Burns is someone we need to look out for. And then real quick, I was not shocked that Ion Kutaleba, I'm saying it wrong.
Wow.
I was not shocked that he crushed Khalil Roundtree. I wasn't at all, because well-rounded will always beat someone that's just, to me, just a striker. Like, Khalil needs to work on his takedown defense, but I was not surprised that Ian came out and he wrestled him and then he ground and pounded him. I was not surprised. I think everyone fell in love with Khalil's Muay Thai training when he got back and he looked like a killer, but he needs to work on his takedown defense. It was a great fight.
I'm glad, really and truly, we saw a return to form for Mark Diakese. You remember last week I was saying, you know what, he needs to remind people why he was feared in the UK. He needs to remind people of his previous caliber. He needs to remind people of the flashy showmanship that he's capable of. And, you know, I think really and truly we're getting back to the Bone Crusher. For a while we saw Mark Diakese, but now the Bone Crusher seems to be creeping back. The attitude, that kind of sass, and I think the flashiness is returning now. Personally, I thought that that was a very, what's the word I'm looking for, mature, and I would say a career best performance on Saturday.
100% agree. To me, I feel like I didn't see too much flashiness that I remember him seeing, charging forward and doing all this crazy stuff. I really feel like he, in his own way, picked Lando apart and even had a couple takedowns. It was brilliant. It was just a very nice, tactical, and mature performance on Mark's part. And I think it threw Lando off. I think Lando was like, this is, like he was expecting something else. And Mark came out there and said, no, I'm going to effectively just beat you at all these rounds and then win the fight. And I actually felt bad for Lando because Mark looked really, really good. I enjoyed it too.
For me as well, okay, there were other standouts on the card, but the return of John Phillips and the return to form of John Phillips and picking up his old moniker, the White Mike Tyson. I mean, that knockout was just sweet.
Oh, I missed
the way
this
in which
one.
he just went in there with reckless abandon and was just throwing hands like the White Mike Tyson that we all know or all knew and loved. It was great to see that return to form. I mean, the Welsh Wrecking Machine, I can just about live with, but for me, I saw the White Mike Tyson on Saturday.
What a name. I think I vaguely remember this fight. There was a KO that was devastating. I have a feeling it's White Mike Tyson. First round. Oh, yeah, 17 seconds. Oh, yeah, he smoked that dude. Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
I was very surprised. I really thought that this was going to be almost a coming out party, considering where in the world that they were. I thought it was going to be a coming out party for Hermansson. I have to say, I was pleasantly shocked.
Same here. I don't know. Jack is calling himself the king of ground and pound. He's on a little bit of a tear. And again, this is a well-rounded fighter. Yes, he takes you to the ground and fights you, but he stays active and he comes forward with his hands as well. And then the beginning of the fight, he came out handling his business. He did establish a nice jab, and Jared does struggle with a jab sometimes if you set up around him. And Jack was hitting him with a nice jab, and then Jack hit a beautiful suplex, got him down. But here's the problem. Jared just got up and was just shrugging off those takedowns. So you could tell Jack's like, oh shit, what do I do now? Because at that moment he could not be the king of ground and pound. And I think Jack tried to implement that, and Jared was like, nah, I'm just going to get back up. And I hit hard. And then he cracked him a couple times and the fight was over. And do you notice how hard Jared hits? Is it just me? Did you see those shots?
Yeah,
Christ.
like a truck.
Yeah.
Like a truck.
I mean, Jack curled up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Speaking of hitting like a truck, just quickly segueing in to Bellator 228, and that was on Saturday night. For me, whilst the card was great, it was good to see, obviously, the Grand Prix again pulling into town. For me, the stories of the night was about the McKee family, AJ McKee and Antonio McKee. For me, a 49-year-old man gave me inspiration as another, a 49-year-old man watching a 49-year-old man. It was incredible to see, such a performance. Plus, that obviously gave inspiration to his son, AJ McKee, because that first round knockout was just sweet.
Unbelievable. Was it 8 seconds or something? That was unreal. He just came forward and just...
Second fastest KO
in Bellator
history.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
And then the little celebration afterwards, I could feel that. I was really, really happy for him, the little flip afterwards. I couldn't blame him for all that joy. 8 seconds later, he just pummeled his opponent. And what a message to send to everybody else for the Grand Prix. There's going to be some dark horses.
100%.
And he could be one of them,
What was there any other runners and riders on the card for you?
Mine was Pitbull versus Juan, because it's just kind of ended a puzzle for me, because I really was stuck with those two. I just didn't know who was going to win that fight. I think Pitbull is amazing, but Juan was on that like 18 fight win streak and looking sharp. I just couldn't call it. So once I saw Pitbull come out there and kind of somewhat dominate and win that fight, it solved the puzzle for me. Like, Pitbull's the better fighter. Like, and then to be honest with you, I think that's the person that wins the Grand Prix. I just think he's that good. But there's some dark horses on this Grand Prix that we need to look out for. You know what I mean? And AJ's one of them. And let's not forget my man, Borix. I'm saying it wrong, but the guy from, Hungary? Adam Borix.
Adam Borix.
Yeah, he's in that mix. So I've got my eye on him and Pitbull. You know?
I tell you one person I've got my eye on, or two people I've got my eyes on, and that's our guests. Basically, we're now going to have the head-to-head, so let's just dial these mother brothers in, and let's get this audio face-off underway.
Let's do it.
It was announced last week that Fabian Edwards will be taking on Mike Shipman. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone to the show. Welcome, gents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, let's just cut straight to the chase. Now, a lot of people looking at this from the outside obviously saw a face-off taking basically place at Bellator Dublin last week. Now, what they saw, just along with myself and G, also present on the chat, basically was a little bit of animosity. Am I right in thinking, just to make sure, Fabian, just to make sure, Mike, that we're all on the same page, this beef actually it stems from a previous fight where Mike Shipman knocked out Yannick Bahati. Is that right?
You answer that, Fabian. Is that where your issues come from?
No, my issue. This is where the issue comes from.
Yeah.
The issue comes from we're both in the same. We're both in the same company.
Okay.
He's just won the belt. You know what I mean? Everyone's throwing my name in there. Fabian should be the next blah 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 blah. So anyway, I'm like, I like to revenge that loss for the team, and I like to get that belt. I'm saying it in interviews. I'm putting it out there. He kept quiet as a mouse. Never said a word. Never said anything. He leaves the company. Fair play. We're going to sign to Bellator, a bigger show. Message me. Oh, I know I've left the company, wanted to fight me, but if you want to fight me, you can fight in the gym. So, me being a fighter and I get paid to do this, I'm like, why would I fight in the gym?
Is that why you let your brother get punched up?
I'm like, why would I fight? I'm like, why would I fight in the gym for free? Are you mad?
Yeah, you don't even fight for free when your brother's getting punched.
Did you not see him run for his life? Did you not see him run for his life?
I saw one security guard,
punches
and I saw you run to get your brother a tissue.
Anyone can run tissue, and he can run. You know what I mean? That's it.
Mate,
you know what I mean?
if my brother got punched in front of me, there'd be a riot, mate.
And that's it. You know what I mean? There's about 60 security guards holding us back. I mean, he would have been a dead man. He would have been
a shit. There's a video.
How can?
There's one security guard.
I was there. About your whole team, but you know what I mean? He ran behind security guard like a bitch.
Big head of yours.
He ran behind security guard like a bitch. You know what I mean? That's it.
This guy is not real. He'll act a thug when there's a camera on. He'll act a thug when we're talking. But when it comes to it, we're in different promotions. He was talking, and I said, "Look, I can come to you."
No, you didn't say a word. You kept quiet like a bitch.
I didn't know who the fuck you were. You were 3-0.
Shut you. You kept quiet. You didn't want to catch those hands, and that's why it was.
Then what am I doing now?
You didn't want to catch it because you finally had to step up to the plate. Now you've been forced into it.
There's a flaw in your logic, mate.
Say thank you. Say thank you to me, because that's the only reason why you're co-main event. So say thank you, Mr. Tasty.
Thank you for co-main
event. There you go.
Thank you for letting me bounce your head off in front of my hometown.
Say thank you, Mr. Tasty. Yeah. Say thank you, Mr. Tasty, for making me co-main event.
Mr. Tasty.
Yeah. Say
thank you for allowing me to beat you up in front of your friends and family.
Say thank you for being co-main event, because you're the prelim fighter before you fought fucking Van Steenis. No one cared about you. That's the thing.
Untrue.
No, the company don't care about you. I mean, all of my fights been on the main card. You know what I mean?
All right.
No one cares about you.
Yeah, sorry to be the guys. Sorry to be the Dan Mergliotto of the piece, but I need to just jump in just quickly. I tell you what One of the things which I'm kind of curious about, just to keep things on track, you've both obviously been keenly observing each other. You've both observed the previous fights. Now, I'm just curious, looking at, this is at you, Mike, looking at Fabian's last fight, what you saw in that clash, do you think there were any problems that you could be faced with based on that performance? What did you see? What were you looking at? What were the things that you actually took away from that clash?
It's the same things that you're always looking at when you're watching Fabian fight. Is he has a left high kick. He tries to load up a straight left hand, but when there's only two things you're looking at, you're not going to be there for it. It's I watched a lightweight who's 7-5, like taken to a decision, and like fair enough. Watching it again, yeah, you won, but just like you're not a dangerous guy.
Okay, I'm not a dangerous guy, but out of 18 fights, I've finished 16, but I'm not dangerous. That makes sense. That makes sense to whoever's listening. I'll finish out of all my fights I've had.
No,
it's
you're counting your amateur record.
I finished 16.
You stayed amateur for I don't know how many years. There's no. What are you getting ready for the Olympics? Why did you stay amateur for so long? If you're so confident.
What would I say, amateur? I came here to smoke bombs like you. I've came up here to smoke bombs like you.
You run your mouth saying that you fight for money. You're not going to fight for free. You fought for free more than anyone I know, man. You had 10 amateur fights.
As an amateur, and that's the reason why I'm getting paid more than you right now. That's the reason why.
I don't know how much you're getting paid, but the reason you're getting paid is because your brother's a big name. The same brother you can defend.
I'm getting paid because I'm fucking sleeping people. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I am sleeping people. I'm putting people to sleep. And that's it.
Who's your last opponent?
That's it.
He's wide awake, man.
That's it. I mean, 9 times out of 10, people are sleeping, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, you're only, like I said to you, you're only important because you're fighting me, innit? You were only important because you're fighting Van Steeners. Before that, no one really cared. You know what I mean? It's like fucking,
man,
when you lost.
How important I'm going to be when I absolutely wreck.
When you lost, no one cared. Everyone was like, so what? Okay, so, cheers. No one cared about it if you lost. You know what I mean? So that's it. And after this one, no one gonna care about you after you lose this one. You just be like, sound back to the prelims, right?
This is predicated on me losing this fight.
So what
I wreck you and turn the company's plans upside down if that is what's going on.
Oh wow!
And I'm just gonna steal that whole, all that momentum.
You ain't stealing.
Kindly built up for me.
You ain't definitely stealing that because you're the like honestly, I don't think you understand how easy you are as a fighter. I've watched it. I've watched it over and over.
I'll tell you my game plan right now. Tell me. Get someone to slap a member of your family, and then we'll just watch your balls shrink.
I know your game plan. Your game plan is fucking the same thing you've been doing for the last 5
Before the
years.
fight, someone's going to slap a member of your family, watch your balls shrink, and then that's it. I won't do that, obviously, because then there'll be no fight left in you. I want the best Fabian Edwards.
None of your team is gonna fucking slap any of my family member. You know what I mean? Like literally, been the same fight for the last 10 years.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
You've been the same fight for the last 10 years.
I'm just ripping you for the fact that you wouldn't stick up for your brother.
Okay, sound innit? Sound.
Again, stick. Again,
I'm not talking about your family. I'm just ripping you that you wouldn't stick up for your brother.
There's no point replying to somebody that ain't got a clue what they're on about. You know what I mean? To some punchy guy. There's no point fucking replying. So next question. You know what I mean? Simple.
Again, just trying to keep things on track and trying to keep things Bellator. I'm taking from that, Mike, just from what you said there. His high kick is a problem. But the reason why I asked about the fight with Basuku is because, you know, as much as people, just like myself, you know, I have to put my hand up to this, scrutinized and actually criticized Fabian for his last performance, that might be a little bit of a misstep. That might be a little bit of perhaps your undoing, because it was kind of evident that wasn't the best Fabian. So in terms of performances and looking at his last performance, I suppose the follow-up question to that, Mike, is that really the fight to be watching to prepare for Fabian?
My follow-up question is, why are you talking about my undoing when I thought we were going to have an impartial guy here?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm putting it...
I'll spit that question back at you when Fabian's looking at me against Costello, like, that's going to get him to drop his guard. I'm not just watching that fight. I've watched all his fights in Bellator, and it's the same Fabian. He's calm. I'll give him that. He's calm. He's got a good high kick. He's opportunistic when he sees something, but he's not a dangerous guy.
I'm not. I'm just not dangerous. I've never starched anyone before.
You starched the guy who inexplicably knocked him to 3-up kicks. I don't understand what he was doing.
I've not starched anyone before. I've not strangled the life out of anyone. You know what I mean? I'm just nothing. You know what I mean? Everyone you fought up until you beat Yannick was bums. The guys after that was bums, and he fought Thingy, Van Steenis, then he lost. You know what I mean? So now you stepped up in competition, which is me. You're gonna lose this one as well. And after that, it's fucking.
So how many levels above Yannick are you? Just asking.
You don't need to worry about what level I'm at.
No.
You don't need to worry about what level. You see what level I'm at.
Above Yannick are
you will see what level I am at.
How many levels above Yannick?
The thing is, you've not fought anyone like me. You've never fought anyone that moves like me. That's the thing. You've never fought that sort of style before. It's gonna be a problem for you. That's gonna be a problem for you. You know what I mean? And I've told everyone I'm gonna watch how easy I make this fight look. That's what's gonna be shocking to everyone. Not how I stiff you up, but how easy I make it look, how effortless.
I look forward to it, mate. I look forward to it.
Hey, Mike, can I ask you a real quick question?
You may.
Thank you. How do you see this? I know you can't go into game plans, obviously, and you sound hella confident. But Fabian is 8-0 right now in his professional career. No one has figured him out. So how do you see yourself getting it done? What do you envision here? Because it sounds like you're gonna win. So how do you see yourself getting it done?
He's talking about my level of competition when he's 8-0, and I don't know what big names he's thrown out who he's finished. Like the level of competition is stepping up for him. He's not gonna be able to deal with my strength. He's not gonna be able to deal with my knockout power. I'm gonna manhandle him and I'm gonna smash him.
Listen, this steroids is not gonna help you, mate. Being on all that juice is not gonna help you manhandle me. Trust me.
You assume someone's on juice because they got a physique. A fat shit.
Being on the fucking juice is not gonna help you. It's not gonna help you.
Who's told you that? Yannick's been poisoning your mind, mate.
Trust me, it's not gonna help you. You being on the juice is not gonna help you one bit.
Yannick's been poisoning your mind, mate.
It's not gonna help you one bit, man. So you can take more of the whole stuff you're taking. It's not gonna help you.
So Fabian, if I can just jump in with the follow-up question that I asked Mike. Now, Mike, I think you're getting the wrong idea in terms of impartiality there, because I started off by saying that I have to put my hand up in being unduly harsh on Fabian when it comes to questions. And an unduly harsh question may be that looking at Mike Shipman versus Van Steenis, given Mike's caliber, given how many fights deep he is, how much do you think that you can actually go above what Van Steenis was actually bringing to the cage that will trouble Mike Shipman?
Listen, all these middleweights, they're pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Like, they focus on power and be strong, and you know what I mean? And that's not what that's not the reason why I'm gonna smoke him. It's not because I'm bigger, stronger man. That's lucky because you're not. That's not the thing. I mean, like being strength wise, coming in overweight, fucking coming in big. That's not the thing. Overweight? Doesn't bother me. I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying past opponents. I'm saying past opponents coming in, being big.
You're in a puffer jacket, but you can see your belly poking out.
It doesn't bother me. You'll see what shape I'm in. I'm fine. Like, you'll see a fight night when I come.
And you're hiding your giant head with your
cap. Not everyone's on the juice like you. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's about me going out there.
You're such a hater, man.
I'm showing him.
Such a fat hater.
Showing him. Fat hater, how? Because you're on the juice. It's like, it's known that everyone down there is on the juice. Like,
why are you trying to deny it? Who's not a fat
why are you trying to deny it? How are you trying to deny it?
Join the hashtag body positivity movement.
How are you trying to deny it that you're on juice? I mean, yeah, you can deny it all you want, but when Bellator jumps in and starts testing, we'll see on it.
Yeah, test away, mate. You'll see.
We'll see. But going back to the question, I'm not looking at that fight and thinking, he lost because blah blah blah. I've watched this guy and he's the same person. It's just the same old gappy tooth Mike, just the same fella. It's just the same, lad. So I'm watching it and I'm thinking, this is light work. This is amateur work. You know what I mean? This is amateur work. You're just trying to be the strong
Light
big
work,
guy.
easy money tour.
It's just the
More catchphrases.
very easy money tour. And that's what's gonna happen.
Tasty
But
shots.
afterwards, when you look up, I'm standing over with a big grin. I want to, you see how it feels.
Your big grin and your big head.
I mean, just on Fabian's big grin and his big head, that was one of the things which was a resounding hit with the media in terms of the videos that were cut, Mike. Now, I mean, for you, that was the first time, I have to say, that I'd heard anything close to animosity towards Fabian. Now, from where you're sat, from where you're standing, wherever your posture is right now, is there any amount of animosity? Is there any amount of beef to a certain extent? Because there obviously certainly is beef coming from Fabian, but is there any animosity from where you're sat?
Being very real, the reason I don't like to talk that much. I'm not a big talker. I find it frustrating talking when there's nothing going to happen. But when a fight's been signed, when it can actually happen, then yeah, I'm good to go. And to be honest, it has grated on me. He has been opening his mouth a lot and saying a lot of stuff, and it has grated on me. And I'm gonna enjoy beating him up.
You're not gonna beat me up. You're not even put a glove on me. Like, are you kidding? I've never had a pop lip in my life, mate. What do you think you're? I've never had a black lip. I never had a bruised lip. And you think you're gonna come out and fucking bruise and bust me up?
Yeah, I'm gonna bust you up, man.
I'll behave, man. You're not gonna be the guy. Trust me, you're not gonna be the guy that busts me up.
There's no possibility you're gonna get busted up.
100%. You're not gonna put a glove on me. 100%, like 100%, like 100%.
You're
I put money on
deluded.
that.
If you think those are the odds, you're deluded.
100%. You're not gonna bust me up. Like 100.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see on the night.
Hey, Fabian, how do you see this going? How do you see yourself taking Mike out?
Second round, it's gonna be too much for Mike. It's just gonna be too much for him. You're gonna be looking out to his corner. They won't have answers because they think they've got the answers, but they won't have answers. Left high kick. Oh yes, let's counter left high kick. But they won't have answers.
You want to talk about whether my team has answers for you?
They won't have answers.
Talk about whether my team has answers for you?
They won't have answers.
I think you know my team does have answers.
They won't have answers. They won't have answers for the left.
Maybe you don't remember.
That's all he wants.
Maybe you don't remember what happened, but my team has answers for you.
No, listen, you're not going to have any answers on the fight night, believe me. You're not going to have answers on the fight night.
Maybe you don't remember what happened, but my team definitely has answers, don't they?
Go on then.
I don't like to talk about it, but you know.
Mike, I'm intrigued. It sounds like there's something that only a select few on this call know about. So it would be nice if you could actually elaborate. It sounds like
no, I've elaborated enough, but I'll suffice to say my team has answers for him.
Just me, you have not got answers for me. Like 100%. You haven't got answers. You know what I mean? You haven't got answers for that.
All right.
I mean, you can talk about fucking 3, 2, 3, whatever. You can talk about all them years ago, but that's just a different person. You know what I mean? You're the same Mike then. I'm different. I'm not the same Fabian then. Completely the opposite guy.
Yeah. I'm not fucking surprised. There must be a lot of head trauma.
Completely opposite guy. Trust me on that.
That can happen.
Trust me. Have you got head trauma from that short elbow? That's
that
how you know you're chinny. You caught a small elbow. The elbow was short, nothing on it. Nothing on it.
Oh, well, then it should be easy work for you then, huh? Back on Easy Money Tour.
I've already told you. I'm already on the Easy Money Tour. I'm already on the Easy Money. I've never dropped off it.
I've never ever seen the Easy Money Tour look like such hard work, man. 3 rounds with the fucking 7 and 5.
3 rounds, not getting touched. 3 rounds dancing around the cage. Not got touched once.
Who wants to see dancing, man?
Dance around the cage. Just enjoying the night. Just enjoying the night. Not even break a sweat. Just
enjoying the night.
Just casual.
So Fabian, there was Fabian. There seemed to be a reference there to a short elbow. Was this something that happened in sparring, or was this outside of the cage? Was this a nightclub?
That's
He's talking about the last fight with Costello.
Costello caught him like a tiny elbow. It's a small elbow. Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Fabian, one thing which seems to be a recurring theme with you, again, I'm curious about this. It seems as though every fight that I've seen you go into, there is a certain amount of venom, there's a certain amount of beef, there's a certain amount of controversy, there's a certain amount of, you and your opponent don't see eye to eye. Does that actually motivate you for a fight? Does that help you get ready? Does that make you feel as though, it's a way of actually getting the upper hand? I mean, why is it that there seems to be a consistent theme with you going into fights?
It's not even a case of let's have the upper hand. It's just a case of before I'm fighting anyone, I don't like him. That's it. I'm not gonna pretend to like him. He's just an opponent to me. Afterwards, let's shake hand, go about our business. You know what I mean? But that's it. Like, none of my opponents will ever be my friends. I go in there, handle business, and I go out and I go home. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be a friend beforehand. I'm not going to be, let's be part. I'm not going to, none of that. I mean, I'm just focused on the task ahead, which is taking whoever out is in front of me and just moving on. You know what I mean? So that's where that comes from. I don't like no one. I'm just there to handle my business and go home.
Now, one thing I'm kind of also curious about, that face-off that happened last week. Mike, when you actually looked into Fabian's eyes, I mean, obviously this was the first time you've been in such close proximity. What was it that you actually saw?
What
He saw the devil. He saw the devil. That's what he saw.
He's so
looked to my eyes and he saw the devil.
I'll tell you what I saw. I saw the same nervous guy that I saw when I saw in the lobby the next day when there weren't cameras. He didn't say shit. But when there's a camera on,
what did you say when I was looking at you then? What did you say?
I'm in conversation. I'm polite.
I think you're forgetting.
How's it going? You
I
just
think you're forgetting.
your lips and walk away.
I said, what are you prick? What are you on about? I think you're forgetting, yeah. If it was on a personal level, to the level you're trying to think, is that personal? If it's that personal, there wouldn't be an old camera. I would have banged in your face as soon as I seen you.
Yeah, like you did with
not that level though.
Was that not personal?
Was that not level though?
For you to do something?
He ran behind security guard. He ran behind security guard.
Level, man.
He ran behind security guard. So it doesn't matter what you say.
Wait, what security guard? If you ran and got a tissue, how much more personal can you get than punching up your brother?
Yeah. If it was that personal, you would have got fucking punched up in the hotel. But it's not that personal. You know what I mean? I'm gonna handle the business in front of. I want to handle it. I want to handle it in front. You know what? I want to get paid good money and handle it on live telly. You can't get no better than that. You can't get no better than that.
You're a shy guy. Anyway, to answer your question, I saw a shy guy who's put himself in a situation and he's got to live up to it. He's an unoriginal, inauthentic guy. He's seen Conor McGregor and he's like, that's how to get paid. And he's not himself. I see him when he's himself and he's a polite, quiet young man.
Have you seen me by myself? Have you seen me by myself? When have you seen me?
I see you in the lobby. You're a shy guy. Yeah. Hiding
shy guy being what?
You probably got some hassle at school for it.
Down.
Knocked your confidence. So you became a fighter. Your brother looked after you.
How you behave? That's the funny thing. You don't understand me as a person. You don't even know me. That's the worst thing. You know what I mean? That's the worst thing. You're lucky that I've changed. God, boy, I would have punched a hole in your face.
Yeah,
I've seen that. 100%. I would have punched a hole in your face, man. You know what I mean? But obviously, reform character and all of that. So I thought I'll leave little Mikey alone. I'll leave the rest of his teeth in his mouth. I won't take him out.
And just finally, just to wrap things up, one of the things we didn't catch on camera in terms of audio was what was being said between you and Fabian. What did you actually hear, Mike, when he leaned in and he started whispering into your ear? What did you hear last week?
What I heard was something about, I'm going to rearrange your face. And yeah,
you finally stepped up.
And rearrange your face. You finally stepped up. That's it. You finally stepped up,
man.
Like, he said that about 4 or 5 times.
I should have tapped him on his back. You know what I mean? I should have said,
well
done. That's what I should have done. I should have tapped. That's what I should have done. I should have tapped in the back and said,
yeah, but you didn't put a hand on me, did you?
Well done, son.
I put a hand on you and you fucking...
Well done.
You went, none of that.
I should have said, huh? You on about?
I give you a little tap on the hand. You were like, none of that, but you didn't do anything about it.
When the fuck did you put hands on me? What you on about?
I didn't put hands on you. I put a hand on you. Gave you a little friendly tap, and you didn't like it, but you didn't do anything about it.
Mate, you talk some sort of shit, you know.
Watch it again. You get a friendly little pat on the arm.
You really did talk some sort of shit, you know. It's fucking hilarious.
There's a video, mate.
It's fucking hilarious. I mean, but at the end of the day, like I say, man, 8 weeks, less than 8 weeks.
Less than 8 weeks.
You'll be standing across. I'd be thinking, you'll know what you got yourself into. When the shots start flying, you'll know what you got yourself into. And that's it.
Yeah, I think I do know what I got myself into, and I can't wait, mate. I can't wait to be that first loss on your record. So you've got to think about me for a long time after this.
Okay.
In 8 weeks' time, we'll all get the opportunity to see how this pans out as Fabian Edwards takes on Mike Shipman in 8 weeks' time at Bellator London. Gents, thank you so much for being the consummate professionals that you are. Thank you so much for bringing the fire. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's WHOACAST. Now, those are two guys who've got genuine beef. There was no way that you could say that was anything other than a bunch of animosity right there.
Yeah, it sure was. I was just over here like, oh my God, I don't even want to say anything. I just want them to keep going at it, and I want to watch them fight. Like, can y'all fight right now?
So, I don't know if you noticed there, but neither man was backing down. Neither man basically took a backward step there. This, I hope, actually plays out in actuality in the way that it played out in audio. This was like a relentless kind of tagging of each other. I mean, each one would come back with like, you know, a razor sharp flurry of words, and it just, wow, it was dazzling. It was absolutely dazzling.
No, and then the best part is that they're going to fight, because before it was Will Flurry and they haven't put that fight together. But for this one, we get to find out who actually wins, and they're training for this. So I'm pumped. I think it's two things. I think they genuinely dislike each other from the stuff they were talking about with, what's his name? Yanni or Yan? I'm saying the name. I always butcher names.
Yannick Bhatti.
Yes, there's some history there. Then, you know, Mike is disgusted with Fabian not taking up for his brother in a way in which he would. So there's some genuine dislike. Fabian doesn't like him bringing up his brother, you know. And Mike is saying, oh, you're following in Conor McGregor, which I don't agree, because even if Fabian is quiet, he's not out here acting like a rock star. So I didn't really agree with that comparison, but they genuinely don't like each other. I will say that, and, you know, and they also both think they're going to win this fight, you know, like they both think they're capable of beating each other, which I thought was pretty awesome. Like, no, like you said, no one backed down. I didn't hear any hesitation or doubt.
You know what? It was a shame that I had to get all Dan Mergliata and jump in, because I could quite happily just listen to those two going backwards and forward for half an hour solid. But, you know, they're going to have 15 minutes to do it when they actually meet up Saturday, November the 23rd, London's Wembley Arena. I, for one, cannot wait.
No, I'm all in, especially after listening to them go back and forth. And you know, that's why I kept asking, just, you know, if I was just quiet as a mouse, but I wanted to know, like, how are you guys getting this done? Mike apparently thinks he's just going to beat up Edwards because of brute strength, and he's going to be able to control him. And Fabian's like, yeah, you should be scared of my left high kick, and you're going down in the second round, which I thought was pretty crazy, you know, like, wow. And I wonder how it plays out. And you know, I do think Mike is really strong, but I also think Fabian is very fast. I wanted to ask him, but, you know, I'm trying to be ginger here, you know what I mean? But I wanted to ask him, do you have an answer for his speed? Because as I analyze the both of them, I do know that Fabian is very fast, and I wonder if Mike has an answer for that, you know. But I didn't want to interrupt. I was going to let them keep going, but that is in the back of my mind. Something that I'm thinking about is how he handles Fabian's speed, because he is a dynamic striker and he's fast as hell.
No, 100%. You know, for me, I'm just really, really excited about the fact that this is a fight that I've looked forward to for the last 2 years. This is a fight that I've wanted to see in a long while. It's been a long while in coming, and we finally get to see this. Man, you can hear the excitement in my voice.
I can hear it.
On November the 23rd. It is going to be outstanding. But speaking of outstanding, let's quickly segue into UFC 243, which goes down this coming Saturday. Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya. Something again which has been a long time in coming. Something again which a lot of people have been anticipating, and something again which I think is going to be explosive once that goes down. I mean, in terms of runners and riders, again, were there any fights below, obviously, the main event that you want to discuss, that you wanted to break down, that you were actually really looking forward to?
Absolutely. I'm not too fond of this card. I will admit that the UFC has done it again. They have given us an awesome main card, but have not given us a really good card. So if this main card goes down, we're going to have a problem. However, with that being said, I like Al Iaquinta versus Dan Hooker. I will have my eye on that.
I love that fight.
Me too. It's just fun. It's just both these boys are going to go at it. Al is 6 and Dan is 15, but it doesn't matter that gap right there. I think they're evenly and well matched. I give the edge to Al because I just think he's been through so much and he's a lot tougher than people think. I mean, this guy went 5 rounds with Khabib. He didn't get submitted. He fought a good fight. He got beat up, but look what Khabib's doing to everybody else. And look what Al did. He survived, And I think Al is going to hang in there and get Dan at some point, but it's going to be a really tough fight because Dan is dangerous. His striking is impeccable, So I really look forward to that fight. And I'm always happy to see Tai Tuivasa fighting. I'm not familiar with his opponent, but Tai Tuivasa is so explosive. So I don't care who he's fighting. I'm just happy to see him. And of course, the main event.
What's the real shame that we've actually lost Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm? I would pay good money to see that. I personally was gutted when I actually left the card. But yeah, just like yourself, I do see this as an okay card. It isn't, a power card.
May I interrupt? I have a question.
Go for it.
You wanted to see Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington fight? Like, I don't care.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Wow, you're harsh.
No, I didn't like the first fight, and I don't see why they're running it back the second time. And believe it or not, a lot of people on MMA Twitter agreed with me. I didn't really drag too many folks over that opinion. People were like, "That's right."
No, it was just the fact that we get to see, or we would have got to see Holly Holm actually basically do a dance, because look at what she's been through in her personal life with a divorce and the fact that, she's been through the mill. I like to see how people actually handle adversity and actually park that to one side and do damage in the cage. I love seeing how people overcome adversity.
Yeah. I could subscribe to that. I just wasn't the barn burner type of fight that I wanted to see, and I didn't like the first one, so, but I respect them both, and I would have watched it and parlayed about it, the following week with you, but they'll run it back, and Holly has some type of injury, I believe, so they'll run it back, and you'll get your wish. Don't worry.
I mean, just on that, something, it wasn't so much the fight, it was just the fact that, Holly Holm was actually returning to the octagon, but in terms of like the main event, I'm pretty torn between Whittaker and Adesanya. I want to go. My heart says Adesanya because I just like, obviously, his style. I love the fact that, he has quickly ascended to the level where he is now, an interim champion who is actually challenging, the full fat champion, as it were, for the belt, for the real belt, for all the marbles. So I love the narrative. I love the fact that, he's unbeaten within the UFC. Yeah. I love the fact that he's quickly climbed the ranks. And I love the fact that, he's main eventing, on home soil. It's just incredible to see.
Oh, yeah. And I you know what I like about him? I like that he showed up well-rounded and ready to fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, this wasn't someone like when out of nowhere when everyone was like, oh, give him a wrestler. His takedown defense is just fine. In fact, he threw up a triangle from his back when he was fighting Kevin Gastelum. Like, this kid is not just a kickboxer. He is UFC high caliber material. Like, you know how like when somebody's really good and they're a striker, everyone's like, oh, just give him a wrestler. And they did, and he did just fine. So I like that he showed up, experience necessary. You know what I mean? He came up ready to fight, and I'm 100% correct because he's undefeated in the UFC. He's fought different types of strikers. He's fought a wrestler. He fares well. He's an interim champion, and he deserves it. This isn't a gifted, interim champion. You know what I mean?
What worries me about this is, given how debilitating an illness Whittaker had, given what we're talking about here, we're talking about a major piece of real estate in a man's body, which, when attacked, is going to cause him, I think, serious problems. I really do see, Israel Adesanya taking full advantage of that. And that's why, I'm fully behind Izzy, not just for the reasons that I outlined earlier. The fact is, there has been a meteoric rise, but I just can't see how you'd come back, in relative terms, quickly from what is seriously, a very debilitating condition that Whittaker had.
I can completely understand why you feel like that. And I felt like that until I watched the UFC countdown to 243. Let me tell you something. Robert Whittaker you know how they all say, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life. I don't believe any fighter when they say that, because every fighter who says that gets KO'd in the first round. Yeah, and I feel like it's just like a narrative to say. However, when I watched the countdown, he's telling the truth. This man was moving like some ballerina assassin. I mean, his shadow boxing was on point. The little activities he was doing, the exercises with his conditioning coaches, he looked scary. This man, he didn't look like someone who just had surgery for like a hernia in his back or his stomach, something that you were just describing that sounds so horrendous. He looks...
How many body shots did he take in those shots that you saw?
Well, that's correct. But let me tell you something, Mike. He looks phenomenal. No, you're right. But he looks, I don't know, it gave me hope. I mean, he looks better than he did before, is my point. You know what I mean? But you're right. With the body shots, we'll see how he fares. But he just looks like a machine. And it was scary, But I'm going to go with Robert on this one. I think Robert is kind of underrated. And he's got the experience. He's come up. He's had quite a few battles in there. Yo Romero twice. Win or lose, he's Teflon. And I think he gets him, but I think it's going to be a similar fight with Kevin Gastelum. I think we're all going to be in our homes just like clutching our chest or our pearls.
Hold on. Skirt.
What's that?
Are you saying then that for UFC 243, you and I have a press-up challenge? Because if I'm going with Izzy and you're going with Whittaker...
Challenge accepted, yes.
Okay, so how many press-ups are we going with then?
What you want?
How many will you be going with?
What do you want?
How many will you be pumping out?
Do you want to stick to 25 or do you want to up it to 30? You choose.
Okay. I'm willing just to stick with 25. I'm going to be light on you because, I know those shaky arms, those the trembles that you have. I don't want to put you out.
Trembles from working out hard. That's what that was. Don't let me be well rested. They're going to be floor to chest smooth. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. 25, as you call it, press-ups, which they sound so ridiculous. Press-ups. What's a press-up?
What do you call them
It's
then?
a push-up. Goddamn press-up.
Press-ups.
Oh,
then
my
you're actually pressing your arms up.
You people with y'all chips and press-ups.
Are you pushing them up in the air?
I mean, you're pushing your chest up from the floor. What is a press-up? And then French fries are chips, potatoes are crisps. What's going on over there?
That's right, crisps.
Oh,
crisps.
Potato
and we
chips.
Don't say force it. We don't say force it because you don't force it out of the tap.
Oh my God. One day we're going to have a whole show dedicated to like, what the fuck is going on over there? That's what we're going to call the show.
Well, exactly. We're going to start, first of all, with cornbread.
Oh my God. If you don't leave the ancestors alone, I swear to you.
And this is at the point when you counter with, no, let's start with mushy peas. I can't defend that.
Oh, yeah, I was about to pull that card right out my back pocket and be like, y'all eat French fries with mushy peas. And I don't know why.
Oh, man.
It looks like baby shit. Oh, my God. Why? Does it taste good, Mike?
The canvas. I've just been knocked out.
Does it taste? Have you had it? Does it taste good? Is it something that's disgusting but tastes good?
It looks as though someone's chewed it and spat it out on the plate. No, I'm not trying that.
It looks like baby shit.
disgusting.
I've changed, like, I have nieces and nephews. It looks like baby shit when the baby food, like, runs right through them and you have to change their diaper. That's what it looks like. But sometimes,
100%.
but Mike, sometimes ugly things taste good. Like, I'm not opposed, like, gumbo is not pretty, but it's delicious. You know what I mean? So...
Yeah. Isn't that like a shrimp dish, gumbo?
It's like a dish with everything in it in the world, and it's delicious. Yes,
Oh.
Especially if you get it in Louisiana. It's just some down south Creole loving. You have to try it.
See, if it's got meat in it, that does sound like my type of thing. A dish with every type of meat in there, yeah, that's just heaven to me.
Yeah, you'll be just fine in Louisiana. Come on down. But we don't eat peas
Okay.
and French fries and shit and baby shit. Like we don't do that. None of that.
Well, thank God for that. On that note, I think that about wraps up this episode of the WHOACAST. You can obviously join us in conversation on any of the topics that we've discussed today. I'm at Mike WhoaTV on Twitter, and G is at
G from WhoaTV.
Until next time, make some trouble.
Always. See you later, Mike.